Hello YouTube, my name is Colin and welcome to my first video ever. Now if you're anything like me, you were shocked to learn that Knuckles in fact had his own video game. Made in the 90s and made by Sega for the Genesis. Now tell me, why does no one talk about this? Well, there's two reasons for that. The first reason is that this game was released on the Sega 32X, a failed add-on for the Sega Genesis. The idea was to take your 16-bit Genesis and turn it into a new, more powerful 32-bit console. But due to its high price tag and lack of games, it was a complete and utter failure. Even Sega didn't care about it. They were spending all their resources at the time on the new Sega Saturn and threw this sucker under the bus. Now, the second reason is that the game itself is quite a mixed bag. Knuckle Chaotix begins like any other Sonic game, with Dr. Eggman, with help from Metal Sonic, taking over Carnival Island and draining it of all its power. In doing so, he captures all of Knuckles' friends and freezes them into some sort of plastic mold. Knuckles is only able to free them by using the power of the ring tether. However, these characters must be connected at all times in order to stay alive, hence that tether you see throughout the entire game. What makes it sorta interesting is that instead of emeralds this time, Dr. Robotnik is using Chaos Rings, which is honestly a nice twist on the usual Sonic formula. I mean, every single Sonic game, there's always rings, so it makes sense there'd be some more powerful than others. But the best part of the game, by far, is the characters. We of course got Knuckles, the Echidna, Mighty, the Armadillo, making his return from the Sega Sonic Arcade, and then the new ones who really take the show, Espio the Chameleon, Charmy Bee, and Vector the Crocodile. Each of these characters has their own unique ability that really mix up the gameplay, for better or for worse. For instance, Mighty is pretty much useless in this game, with having a minor wall jump that doesn't really help, while Charmy Bee can completely break the game with an infinite jump that essentially lets you fly throughout the entire level. I mean, this guy's even better than Tails when it comes to flying. Honestly, Charmy Bee might be the best Sonic character ever. Again, without a doubt, these three character designs are the best part of the game and really are the lasting legacy of the game. You can just tell they fit perfectly into the Sonic universe and family. I mean, these guys are the only part that keeps showing up in future Sonic games like Heroes or Forces, and even the Olympic games, even while Knuckles Chaotix falls into obscurity. Now, there are actually two other non-playable characters in the game as well, Heavy the Robot and Bomb. But these guys don't matter at all. In fact, they're designed to be a nuisance and slow you down, but really don't work. Mostly because the second character doesn't matter at all when you play the game. So, I just have one question for you. Do you like rubber bands? You see, as you can already tell, every time you play this game, you're actually playing as two characters connected together through this ring tether mechanic. And that's the main gimmick of this game. This ability is kinda cool, since you can swing back and forth or do some really high jumps, but honestly, it never really works the way you intend it to. Even after beating this game, I never felt truly comfortable with it and never truly understood how it works. Most of the time, you're just jumping around and it becomes a jumbled mess. It gets pretty annoying, and you wish the game would just let you play as one character. But even if your partner dies, they'll just respawn again in a few seconds. Really, I just want to play the game like all the other Sonic games. Just use spin dashes for speed and simple platforming, but the gimmick won't let you. In fact, the developers even knew this gimmick would be an issue. The game starts with a tutorial, a first for a Sonic game. I mean, imagine starting Sonic 1 with a tutorial. Even though you should do the tutorial, it really doesn't matter. You'll end up just using Charmy Bee to beat the game. You can play the game in co-op as well, which is nice. But again, having these two characters tethered is just a nuisance. I mean, instead of blaming the CPU, you'll just be blaming each other. Now, the levels in the game are all aesthetically pleasing and fit into the theme of Carnival Island. You got your usual forest plains level with Botanic Base, a roller coaster level that is by far the best in the game since you can actually go fast with Speed Slider, an ocean/coastal area with a nice nautical theme, Marina Madness, an annoying futuristic techno tower level, and the carnival-esque amazing arena. But again, because of this ring gimmick that all the levels are built around, it makes the game so much worse. For instance, in a basic Sonic game, they utilize a normal horizontal level design where you essentially go from left to right in a nice open area. This allows for you to gain some momentum, gain some speed, have some enjoyable platforming, and is basically overall a fun experience. In Chaotix, though, the levels are all built vertically around that ring tether mechanic, and this makes these levels constricted with platforms all over the place. I mean, you can't breathe, you can't enjoy the atmosphere, and the most important part is you can't go fast. There's no space. Because of this, it's also so easy to get lost in these levels, since they'll have you going left, right, up, down, all around. I mean, I really hope you love this loop mechanic here, because they're going to constantly bring it up over and over and over again. But by far, the worst level in the game is Amazing Arena. All of these problems are amplified, especially the constricting part, since everything is broken up into small rooms with elevators connecting each other. This leads to so many dead ends, which just gets infuriating. Luckily though, these levels aren't too long, especially in the beginning. They're very short, less than a minute. You see, Knuckle Chaotix uses a new system here, with you selecting each level randomly to begin. This is pretty new for a Sonic game. In fact, I would even call it non-linear gameplay. However though, because of this, because all the sections are split up randomly, there really is no flow. So you'll probably end up doing the first part of all of these levels, then the second part, but by the end, you'll get all the bosses bunched together, not spread out evenly throughout the game. The bosses in the game are alright, nothing special. It is very cool that each boss starts with a tiny intro cutscene before they appear, but some of the bosses definitely work better than others. You see, some try to use that 32x power and can just really lag the game, while others aren't just very clear to begin with. I mean, you can't tell what they're supposed to do. The best boss in the game is by far the final boss, Metal Sonic. Well, at least the second part of it. The first part is just an annoying mess. You hope to God you hit the switch and that it triggers the hitbox. Otherwise, you'll be repeating all of these attacks over and over again. I mean, sometimes I'll just keep missing and missing, making this fight last forever. Other times, you'll hit it 1, 2, 3 and go to the second part, which is awesome. Once you get past the first part, Metal Sonic transforms into Metal Sonic Kai, and this is such an awesome design. He looks so menacing, fearsome, and honestly can truly destroy that island. The fight itself is simple enough. Just hit him enough times, and if he gets annoying, just use Charmy Bee to fly into him. Now, depending if you get all the Chaos Rings, you'll either get the good ending or the bad ending. And let's just get straight to the point. The bad ending is way better than the good ending. If you get the good ending, it'll just show a still image of you collecting all the Chaos Rings and then straight to end credits, which shows Sonic and Tails, their only appearance in this game, as a still frame. But with the bad ending, you do see Robotnik laughed at you. However, when they show the end credits, you see this awesome, menacing Metal Sonic Kai again, just rampaging through the island. But if you really want to get the good ending, I would say the special stages in Knuckles Chaotix are pretty good. I would say they are fair, in fact. To get to the special stages, you need to finish a level with 50 rings and then jump through the giant ring at the end. And in order to get the Chaos Rings, you'll need to collect an X amount of blue spheres to proceed. What's nice is the timer is based on the amount of rings you enter the stage with. So if you have 150 rings, you can basically start the stage with 150 seconds. Not to mention, you can collect more rings while you're on the stage. And let's say you aren't able to collect enough of those blue spheres when you first try. Well, as long as you have time left over, the stage will let you retry. Now, these special stages at the end can be a bit annoying since they try too hard with all these special loop-de-loop designs and really push the 32X to the limit with their 3D design, making it constantly flicker all over the place. But it really is a right direction for special stages when it comes to the Sonic franchise. Overall, this game is nothing special. I mean, it is pretty cool to see Knuckles finally have his own game. I mean, even Tails has a couple. But because of the lackluster level design and that dumb ring gimmick, it really holds it back. Now, this game can be quite pricey now because it was a 32x game. A loose cartridge would run you about $100. But if you're a collector, I'd say it's worth it, especially if you played all the Sonic games. I mean, we've all paid way more money for way worse games. But if you're not a collector, you know how to find it online. What Sega really needs to do is re-release this game. Next year, 2025, will be its 30th anniversary, and a perfect reason for this sucker to come back out. I mean, they do all these Sonic collections, and somehow this has never been on one of them. So please, Sega, next year, bring this game back. You don't have to make it a remaster. You don't even have to make it HD. Just let us play it.